guys, today we're going to talk about 3 money myths that everybody has been taught to believe. The first money myth is that if you go to school, work hard, and go to grad school, you'll never have any financial worry. Most of the time, we believe that if you become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or pursue some type of career, that we're going to be set for life. We will be financially free. Honestly, that is the biggest lie sold. That's not to say that education is not important, but honestly, getting in debt hundreds of thousands of dollars is not going to move you toward financial freedom at all. It is true that if you pursue certain careers that you may make a little bit more money than, let's say, if you decided to work at McDonald's. However, you're going to be taxed a whole lot more, and as your income increases, your expenses typically increase. Every time there's a new tax proposal where they say, let's tax the rich and punish the rich, you know who actually bears the tax burden? The middle class. When you go and you pursue a career that puts you in that middle class tax bracket, that makes you ineligible to receive perks that you would get if you didn't make that much money, but then you make just enough money to be paying more than half of your salary back to the government. So they're really not taxing the rich, they're taxing the middle class. The truth of the matter is, you don't need a terminal degree to become a millionaire. In fact, most millionaires today haven't even gone to college. They just know how to make money. Going to college is not going to teach you anything about becoming financially free. It's going to teach you how to become a better employer for someone else. It is a fact that most of the millionaires today haven't even attended school. It's about mindset and about how to use your money to make more money. Am I saying school is not important? Not at all. I really believe the more you know, the more you can help yourself. But to believe that going to school for long periods of time is going to set you apart and make you not have to worry about anything in the future as far as finances, that's a lie. You're going to become thousands of dollars in debt unless you have a special way where you can pay off your school loan. Now, if you do want to pursue a career that does require, lots of college education, like some sort of doctor, maybe a lawyer, engineer, something that does require extensive education where you can't just YouTube it, for sure, pursue that. But make sure it's what you want to do and make sure it's not about the money. The next myth that we're always taught is that if you own a house, that is a surefire way to achieving wealth. Oh my God, that is such a lie. Okay, let me tell you why. If you own a house and you simply buy a house and you pay it off over 30 years, you're going to be putting more money into it. Now, there is such a thing called as equity, meaning that when you buy a house, let's say in year 2014, and you hold that house and you want to turn around and sell it in maybe year 2024, that the value of the house is likely to increase. But during those few years where you own the house is literally not generating an income for you unless you find ways to make that house into an income producing asset. So what do I mean by income producing asset? I mean something that is actively generating cash flow. So yes, it's important to own land, but simply owning land and paying it off over 30 years and pumping money into upkeep, pumping money into repairs, pumping money into all the different things that go into owning a house eventually becomes a huge liability. What's a liability? So a liability in this case would be like your mortgage payments. So if your mortgage payments are, let's say, $1,500 a month, yes, you are paying toward ownership of that house. However, you also have to think about the taxes of the land, which never go away. You have to think about all the different expenses such as repairs, keeping up the yard, making sure everything is in code, paying your HOA fees. Those are the activities that are taking money away from you. Paying for auxiliary expenses may or may not equal the amount of income you receive if you choose to sell that house. Commercial break. So a liability is any debt that must be paid or any type of situation where you must pay a bill and it's taking money out of your wallet. Whereas an asset is anything that you own that can produce income if it's sold or if it brings in positive cash flow. Number 3, if you work hard, you will be financially free. I think that is the biggest lie that I've ever been told in my entire life. I feel like people talk about, well, if you're a hard worker, then you can make it. And that's true to an extent, but working several jobs is not going to make you a millionaire. It's just not, because there's only so much time in the day, and trading time for money is not gonna make you financially free. Most of us have regular jobs, and when I say a regular job, I'm talking about a 9 to 5 or a 9 to whenever, or you go to work and you spend a certain amount of time at work and then you are compensated for the time that you put in. So that's what we usually refer to as a 9 to 5. Are 9 to 5s bad? No, they're not. In fact, 9 to 5s are awesome because they help us to move toward our goals. However, working at 9 to 5 is not going to make you wealthy. A book that really puts everything into perspective for me is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And honestly, when I was making this video, I was quite hesitant to promote this book simply because I don't agree with some of the things he currently says. Some very tone-deaf comments when the whole George Floyd incident occurred. And so I was on the fence, like, do I really want to promote his work or not? I'm not necessarily promoting him as a person. I do think this book is very informative, and it definitely changed my life and helped me shift my mindset from being a consumer into a person building wealth. So in his book, Robert Kiyosaki talks about how different classes of people think. He talks about the lower class. Those are the people who have an income and they use their income to cover their bills. Their expenses basically exceed the income. So that's not really where we want to be, because then we have no extra cash around. The middle class has an income, but they use their income to buy liabilities. So if you watched earlier in the video, we learned that liabilities are basically debts or anything that is bleeding your wallet dry. Now, the difference between middle class and the wealthy or the upper class is that the upper class uses their income to buy more assets. So an asset is basically something that produces more value or cash flow or somehow produces more income. Those assets are then housed in companies or corporations, which are immune to certain tax laws. Then those assets are then used to buy the personal liabilities. So let's back it up really quick. As a middle class person, I'd say many of us, when we have gotten our degrees, we feel so good about ourselves. So let's say we graduated from medical school and we're like, yes, I made it. I finally became a doctor, right? So what's the first thing we do? We go out, we buy a house, we buy a car. We go and do all these things that we feel that we deserve because, man, we spent like a good 20 years of our life in school. Of course we deserve something nice. But where do we get the money to buy these things? We got it from our income, okay? So instead of using our income to buy, let's say, an income property, let's say a house that we're not gonna live in, we're using our money to buy a house only for us. We're not gonna share it, we're not gonna rent it out. It's just for us. So that house is now a liability instead of an asset. We buy a car, which, let me tell you, is like the biggest liability in life. Well, maybe not in life, but it's one of the biggest ones. Why is it such a huge liability? Because it depreciates literally as soon as you drive that car off the lot. It depreciates thousands of dollars. So it's like you flushed your money in the toilet. And of course, where do we get that money? We got it straight from our income. So we've got all these nice things that society tells us are assets, but they're really just toilets for us to flush our money into. The difference between the wealthy and the middle class is that the wealthy have figured out how to kind of dodge the hefty tax system, and they've also figured out how to continue to create more avenues of revenue to come in to support their lifestyle. So here's how. They have their income, they use their income to buy assets. Their assets produce more income, and their assets are housed in a corporation. That corporation protects them from all those hefty taxes that would normally take away more than half of their earnings. So those taxes are now redirected back to the middle class. So when you ever hear rhetoric talking about, yeah, let's tax the rich and make them pay for this and that, whatever, no, they're gonna tax you. It's never gonna work out in your favor. I do recommend this book because it will help you to kind of shift your mindset from being a consumer and to from being a consumer to building generational wealth. The paradigm shift came for me when I thought about all the money I literally spend on just things that I simply don't need. I decided that I'm gonna start putting my money into building assets. So instead of shopping on the weekends or spending my money out on food or drinks or anything that's basically going down the toilet, I'm now trying to figure out how to allocate those funds into building investments into buying more assets to increase my income and secure generational wealth. So I hope you check this book out. It is really good. Tell me what you think in the comment. And if you like content like this, please comment below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you feel this content was very helpful, share it with someone so they can begin on the path to creating generational wealth. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.